Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Florida Writers Book Expo. My name is Michael Farrell, and I am a director of the Florida Writers Association. FWA is an all-volunteer nonprofit group for all writers at all levels. We do writing conferences, workshops, webinars, podcasts, and events like this one. So thank you for joining us at the Florida Writers Book Expo, where we have 60 booths across genres with some amazing authors for you to meet. I'm joined by one of those wonderful authors, David Stone. So a quick thing about him, David helps smart, self-aware, ambitious people who want to put worry and anxiety behind them so that they can get on with their dreams. He's the author of 2 books, Unsubscribe from Anxiety, Opt Out of the Myth That Worry is Required and Take Charge of Your Own Life Now, and The Fearless Decision, How to Live in the World Without Being Afraid of It. So let's get started with our interview. How are you doing today, Mr. Stone?
I am doing fine, thank you, Michael. And David would be great if you wanted to call me that, and I'll respond to anything.
Awesome. All right, so let's get started with the questions. How did you start your writing journey?
I've actually been writing for a very long time, and I've got 2 books, as you mentioned, in this category on anxiety and worry and overcoming that. I had a previous career in marketing, and I think I wrote 15 or 20 books in that area. I actually lost count. But how I got started was simply, I had this message that I had to share, and I love to read, and reading is one of my best ways of learning, and so I simply wanted to share through books all these ideas that I needed to get out there.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. So what would you say is the most exciting part about being an author?
I love developing the concept. I mean, an idea for a book or simply a message. And because I do a lot of, all my stuff is nonfiction, I've got a message that comes into my head. Hey, I need, a thought will come into my head, or I will experience something in my own personal growth path. And then it'll grow a little bit. And then I'll think, oh, I need to share that. And the idea starts to gel. And partway along the path for it gelling is when I say, I need to make a book about that. That's when I start collecting notes. I just make little notes to myself. I start a file, bits of paper here and there, and they just sort of accumulate over a period of time.
Awesome. So what would you say is the biggest challenge of being an author?
Probably the biggest challenge is sitting down and putting the words together. And in fact, frequently I'll find that, okay, I've got the idea. Surely I'm finished now, but you have to actually collect the words. And then, of course, the editing process. One of the biggest challenges is after a book is finished and it's out there, and then I read it again, I find it frustrating because I think, oh, I want to do that over again, and I want to, do it this way, or that I did it in the wrong order. This chapter should have come before that one. So there's that piece of it, but then that just says to me, all right, write another book.
Awesome. So we got a question from our audience. Do you do a lot of speaking engagements about your new area of writing?
Well, I used to when we were in the days of speaking engagements. I love being on the podium. I love being on the stage, and I have done an awful lot of speaking pre-COVID times. And I'm really looking forward to getting back on the tour and getting back on the stage and speaking about this as well. Yes.
Very nice. Do you have any advice for any aspiring authors?
Yeah, I really do. And it's I suppose it's the advice that I am writing about these days, because I think that the thing that gets in most authors' way is the fear that this is something that either I can't do. Who do I think I am to be an author? It's only smart people that write books, or whatever it is. You have a message, and your message counts, and you have experience. And whether you're a fiction writer or a nonfiction writer, the ideas that are inside your head matter. and they want to be shared with other people. And so what if you're not going to be the next Stephen King or Wayne Dyer or whoever it is, and sell millions of copies? It doesn't matter. If one other person reads your book and their life gets better as a result of it, then you've done your job. And let's just get out of our own way and say, yeah, I can do it. Why not?
It is true that like self-doubt can really throw a wrench in all your working. So it's very good that you're working to kind of help other people with that.
Oh yeah, we find that when when you're halfway through the process, and you bog down a little bit, and your book is going along, and I've got 93 pages. That doesn't quite make a book. I got more to say, and have I run out of things to say? And then you go back and read it, and then you have that moment of doubt, and you think, oh, this isn't very good. Well, actually, it is. It's really good. And, get it out there. Just pour it out. Pour it out onto the pages. And then you can go back and you can polish it if you want to. But just start. That's the biggest thing. Open up your computer, pull out a long piece of paper, a pad of paper. Start putting the words down there. That's how you begin. That first step is so critical. And there's nothing stopping you from taking that first step except your own self-doubt. And that's just an illusion. You can make it disappear easily.
I think that's wonderful. So we got some more questions from the audience. Does your marketing background help for marketing your book sales?
Yes, it does. But the thing about marketing is actually, dirty little secret. Marketing is actually dead simple. There's nothing complicated about it. And we all get kind of wrapped around the axle and twisted up about it. But marketing consists of some very, very basic things. Number one, what is it that you've got that you want to share? What's the essence of what you've got? What is it that I can hear from you that I'm not going to hear from somebody else? And you might say, oh, there have been 1,000 books written on, how many romance novels have been written, or how many self-help books have been written. Yeah, great, but none of them have been written by you, with your particular brand of experience, with your imagination. So that's the first one. What makes you special? What have you got that somebody else doesn't have? And you might need a little help. Get some friends or family members who see you with a perspective that they can't see themselves. The second thing is then you need to get it out there in any way possible. Tell people about it. We're all very shy about that. No, don't be shy. Just let people know. And social media, of course, is a wonderful thing. It's absolutely free. You can get it out there. You can spread it to as many people as possible. Be proud of yourself. If you're not proud of your writing, if you don't think it's something worthwhile to read, why would any reader think that it's worthwhile reading? It starts with you. It starts with your energy, with your enthusiasm about your topic, about the story that you're telling. That's where it begins. And the other rule of marketing is it's just over and over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, how many times do you suppose you've seen or read the words Coca-Cola in your life? You'd think we'd know about Coca-Cola by now, but no, they just keep telling us about it, reminding us again and again and again. And you as an author, we make the mistake thinking that, well, I told them about it once, surely they know, and I guess they don't like it, so they didn't buy it. No, they didn't see that first one you mentioned. And then if they did see it, they forgot, and then they need to be reminded, they got busy. So don't be afraid to just, over and over and over and over again.
That's some very good advice. Thank you. Do you think that there's like a point where it gets to too much?
Well, how do you think that there's too many Geico commercials? Do you think that there's too many commercials for Ford and McDonald's and Starbucks? The point about marketing is that's where the self-doubt is coming in again. Oh, people don't want to hear from me anymore. They let them be the judge of that. Don't you decide that they've had enough and shut off the messaging. You got to keep that messaging going all the time, because there's somebody out there who has not yet heard about you, or there's somebody out there who heard about you and made a mental note. Oh, that sounds interesting, but I'm busy doing the laundry right now, or I'm doing whatever. And then they forgot. So remind them, and they'll say, oh, that's right, I wanted to get a copy of that book. And so, no, I don't think that there's too much. Let me put it this way. Every one of us has got so far to go before we even begin to approach too much that don't let that be a stopper for you.
That's some very insightful advice. Thank you. So we got another question. Do you write by outline or stream of thought?
The way that I write is, and I alluded to earlier, is I spend a period of probably several months just collecting ideas, and in no particular form or order or anything. And I just collect thoughts, and it might be just one sentence or a quote I've heard somewhere, or maybe it's a paragraph, or maybe I found a whole article and I'll print it out. And I just throw it all into a file. That's it. And I don't even think about writing. I just throw it all into a file and let it accumulate. And then I get a sense that, okay, it has reached a critical mass, and my enthusiasm has reached a critical mass. And then I say, okay, time to make this into a book. And sometimes when I'm writing, I remember in the early days when I would write my marketing books, I would take all that stuff and I'd organize it, because I had no idea how to organize it just yet. I'd organize, oh, okay, this idea kind of goes with that idea. So I'd put them in a pile, and then I'd end up with 15 piles, and literally I'd spread them out on the floor and they'd be all over my office. And I've always had a home office. And when my kids were young, they'd always know when Dad was in a book writing mode. And because they'd walk into my office, don't step on the piles. I'd leave a path through the piles on the floor for them. And then so now I've organized them all into the piles, and I think, okay, what's the right order? Yeah, this one should come first because I need to know this before I can tell them that. And then this pile becomes chapter 1, and then I pick it up, and then I just start typing, and then chapter 1 is done. And typically, after that process, when it comes to actually converting it into a book, maybe a couple of weeks is all it takes me. But it's been 6 or 8 months of collecting all these ideas. And I'm not a fiction writer, as many of your members are. But it would seem to me that if I did want to write fiction, I'd probably use a very similar approach, where I just, again, collect ideas. I'd collect an idea about a character. I'd collect an idea about a situation or a circumstance or a meeting or a snippet of dialogue, and I'd just throw them all into a pile. And then, again, when it's reached critical mass, okay, let's turn this into something.
Awesome, that's wonderful to hear. I like how you have a very systemic process going on. It's very interesting to hear about.
Yeah, and then it turns into a book. Eventually, turns into a book that looks like this, and then it ends up on the shelf. And now okay, let's do another one. Let's do the next one.
Excellent. So another question from the audience: what is your most recent book?
My most recent book is this one right here, called The Fearless Decision: How to Live in the World Without Being Afraid of It. And but I will say that perhaps even more current is the one that's going on in here and is in the process of not yet reaching critical mass. And this next book, along this line of overcoming fear and anxiety, it's going to be a collection of stories about people that that have overcome their own fear and overcome their own self-doubt. And one of the things about fear is there's so many quotes about it. We say that all the good things that you're looking for are outside your comfort zone. And so the title of this next book is going to be Your Parachute Can't Open Until After You've Jumped Out of the Airplane. And the idea that no, I got to take that step first. I may not have all the answers, and I can't have all the answers but let's go. If you want to write a book, start writing. You'll figure it out.
Awesome, and I really like that metaphor, the parachute. It's very very appropriate for that.
It's a genuine leap of faith. When you're stepping out of that airplane, you got to trust that parachute's going to open. When you start writing a book, you got to trust that you're going to be able to finish it, and it will turn into something that has a cover and a title, and it's there on a shelf.
Absolutely. So are your two books based on true non-fictional experiences, or are they more informational or instructional?
No, they're based on true life, my true life experiences. The Unsubscribed from Anxiety is I struggled a great deal of myself with worry and anxiety, and to the point where, and this is very, kind of what the trigger was, I literally worried myself into homelessness in 2009. And that was the trigger that said, okay, that's it. Enough. I've had enough of this. This is not going the way I wanted to. And so I set out to study my brain, my mind. How does it work? How do worry and anxiety work? And are they really necessary? But he tells you that, oh, this is just fact of life. And I discovered, no, it's not just a fact of life. It's a mental choice that we all make, and can decide to make a different set of choices. And that's what I taught myself to do. And a tremendous amount of reading, hundreds of books that I read and studied and courses and all the rest of it. And that turned into the process that I describe in this Unsubscribed from Anxiety, a process that allows anybody to just say, that's it, I've had it. I'm done with it. I want to stop worrying. And my life is a whole lot better off without worry and anxiety. Okay, great. Opt out of it now. And the book explains that process. But yeah, it's all based on my own personal life experience.
Awesome, that's wonderful. I love the philosophy behind it, and then the meaning that your work has. Because it sounds like you've definitely come a long way.
Oh yeah. Well, it was funny because I'll turn 67 in a couple of weeks. And it was when I was 64, I finally figured out what I want to be when I grow up. And that is a person who shares with the world how to stop worrying so much. And I asked myself, what does the world need? And the answer came back, the world needs to stop being so afraid of everything. Afraid to try writing a book, afraid to leave that awful relationship, afraid to start that side hustle, or quit your job and start that business. We all live in that fear. And Tony Robbins, who's another fantastic author, says, fear is the biggest obstacle that everybody has to living the life that you really want to live. And if you can get rid of that, you can get that out of there. Wow, sky's the limit. You can do anything.
Awesome. So back to your books. Were they traditionally published or self-published?
No, they are hybrid published. I work with a publisher, and it's the publisher Windward Group is publishing and media is one of the booths at the show, and Windward Group is the publisher of my books. But it's a hybrid in that I get to do all the marketing and such. But no, I wouldn't know how to publish a book if my life depended on it. Although I suppose I could figure it out. I figured out a bunch of other things, but it was just so easy. And working with Gail Hulnick, who is the owner of Windward, she's really, really good. She's an author in her own right. She's a novelist, but she also is a publisher and has had Windward Group for a long time. Windward is WINWORD, Windward, which I love that, the breezes blowing the words around. But yeah, so I work with her and had a lot of success. She also published a number of my marketing books as well before I switched over to this.
That's great to hear. So another question we got here from our audience. Do you make use of beta readers with your books?
Somewhat. There's a little bit of a process that I go through because I've also I've blogged for many, many years about the topics that I write about. And in the feedback that I get from the blogs, I get the opinions and the feedback that way. I do occasionally, when the book is ready, hand it out to a few people just to let them give me some feedback. But for the most part, the stuff that ends up in the books is stuff that I have tested in workshops or in seminars that I've done. And again, I mentioned earlier about speaking on stage. So a lot of the material has been tested, and I know that it holds water and that I get good feedback from it.
Wonderful. And we are almost out of time, so we'll just do one more question for you. So where do you see your writing career going in the future? What does the future have in store for you?
Well, I told you the next one. Your parachute can't open until after you've jumped out of the plane. After that, I don't know. Every once in a while, I think, would I ever write a fiction book? But I probably couldn't write a fiction book that didn't have some kind of deeper message in it that was, didactic in some way to teach a lesson. But I can certainly see myself. I'm just getting ramped up for my second 40-year career here, and I'm sure that I've got at least 3 or 4 more books in there. And doing a lot of blogging, getting ready to do some podcasting, those kinds of things. So that's where I see my career going. It's more of a means to get the message out there.
Right, and I wish you the very best on that. So
thank you, Michael.
Our time is.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. So our time is up. So again, I want to thank you, David, for joining us. For those who are watching, you can find his books by searching the Windward, WINDWORD group at floridawritersbooks.com. It can be reached through his website, www.ifearless, that's i-fearless.com, and through the Facebook group he sponsors, Fearless Living and Growth Society. We'll also have more interviews right here on Crowdcast, so you can check back later, which will be in another 2 hours. If you're interested in learning more about the Florida Writers Association, you can visit floridawriters.org. So thank you, David. Thank you, everyone, for coming by. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
Have a good one.